My mother didn't ask me for money. She took my credit card and called it love. When I tried to stop her, she said I was too selfish to be a good daughter. That's when I realized she never wanted a daughter. She wanted access. I didn't realize my mother could steal from me and still call herself the victim until she did it wearing a robe and spa slippers. It was supposed to be a peace offering. A girl's day. A reset. One of those rare afternoons where I could pretend we were normal for a few hours, like the past hadn't been a long series of tiny cuts I learned to smile through. I booked it. I paid the deposit. I chose a place that felt safe in the way public spaces can feel safe. Bright lighting. Clean towels. Soft music. Rules. I thought rules would protect me. I forgot my mother's favorite game is finding the loophole where you're too embarrassed to stop her. It started the way it always starts with her. Not with a request. With an accusation. You never do anything for me, she said the week before, on the phone, her voice already trembling with the kind of practiced heartbreak that used to make me fold instantly. Other daughters take their moms out. Other daughters appreciate sacrifices. I was sitting at my kitchen table, laptop open, trying to eat dinner without turning it into a strategy meeting. I do things for you, I said carefully. She laughed like that was adorable. Name one thing you've done recently that didn't benefit you too. That question was a trap. Anything I listed would become a receipt she could critique. Anything I didn't list would become proof I was selfish. I swallowed. I can take you somewhere. We can have a day. Silence. Then a soft, satisfied inhale on her end. I don't want somewhere, she said. I want something thoughtful. Something that shows you care. I knew what that meant. Expensive. Public. Performative. Something she could tell her friends about. So I booked the spa day. And I told myself it was fine, because I could afford it. Because it was just one day. Because I was tired of fighting. Because a small part of me still believed there was a version of her that could be pleased. If you've lived with someone like my mom, you know exactly how that hope feels. It's not optimism. It's conditioning. My mom has always treated my love like a payment plan. When I was a kid, she called it respect. If I didn't agree with her, I was disrespectful. If I asked questions, I was ungrateful. If I wanted space, I was selfish. Good daughters don't talk back, she'd say when I was 10, eyes cold, voice sweet enough to make it sound like advice instead of a threat. As a teenager, she upgraded the language. Good daughters don't abandon their mothers. Good daughters contribute. Good daughters understand how much their mothers sacrificed. Contribute meant money, of course. When I got my first job, she called it helping the household. She framed it like it would teach me responsibility. It taught me something else. That my work belonged to her. That my money was family money, but her money was hers. There were 100 small moments that should have warned me. Her borrowing my debit card to grab groceries, then coming home with a new purse. Her accidentally opening my mail and somehow knowing exactly how much I made. Her calling me late at night crying about a bill and staying on the phone until I offered to pay just to stop the emotional bleeding. If I hesitated, she'd go for my throat with words that left no bruises but stayed tender for years. Do you want me to struggle? You're all I have. I guess I raised a selfish daughter. I didn't have siblings. My dad was gone. My mom made sure the world felt small enough that she was the center of it. So when she called me selfish, my whole body reacted like it was an emergency. That's why the spa day wasn't just a day. It was a negotiation. A chance to buy a temporary ceasefire. We met in the parking lot that morning. She arrived 10 minutes late, sunglasses on, lips pursed like she was judging the building. This is the place, she asked, looking up at the sign. Yes, I said. It has good reviews. Well, she said, turning her head slightly, I hope it's worth it. She said it like I'd dragged her to a dentist. Inside, the lobby smelled like eucalyptus and quiet money. The receptionist smiled at us. Welcome. Do you have a reservation? I gave my name. My mom stood slightly behind me, scanning the room like she was looking for someone she knew. An audience. When the receptionist handed me a clipboard, my mom leaned in. You're paying with a credit card, right? She asked casually. I blinked. Yes. Why? I just don't want any issues, she said, voice low. You know how embarrassing it is when cards decline. My stomach tightened. My card won't decline. She smiled, too quick. Good. I'd hate for you to make a scene. That word again. Scene. With my mother, the threat of embarrassment was always a leash. She knew I'd swallow anything if the alternative was public conflict. We went to the locker room. Soft lighting. Robes hanging neatly. Everything designed to make you feel gentle. My mom moved around the space like she owned it, touching products, opening drawers. Don't touch that, I said automatically, then immediately regretted it. She turned her head slowly. Excuse me? Some places don't like, I started. She stepped closer, smiling with her mouth but not her eyes. You're already controlling, she whispered. Can you not ruin this day too? There it was. The first hook. I swallowed my words. She changed into her robe first. When she came out, she looked pleased with herself, like she'd transformed into the version of motherhood she wanted the world to see. Take a picture, she said, holding up her sleeve. This is cute. I took one. She checked it, frowned, and made me take another. Then, as I was changing, I heard her say, lightly, as if she were commenting on the weather. You know, other daughters would have added the deluxe package. I paused with my shirt half off. We have a package, I said. She hummed. Basic. My jaw clenched. When we walked back to the lounge, she made a point of speaking loudly to the attendant. I don't get to do things like this often, she said, hand on her chest. My daughter is very busy with herself. The attendant smiled politely, unsure. Heat crawled up my neck. I wanted to pull her aside and hiss at her to stop. But the old fear kicked in, if I confront her, she'll explode, and then I'll be the one who ruined the day. So I smiled tightly and pretended not to hear it. Our first treatments were scheduled separately. I had a massage. She had a facial. We'd meet afterward in the relaxation room. As my massage started, I tried to let my body unclench. To enjoy the quiet. To remember that this was supposed to be self-care. Halfway through, my phone buzzed in the locker. I didn't check it. 10 minutes later, it buzzed again. And again. When the massage ended, I went to the locker room and opened my phone. 3 missed calls from my mom. 1 text. Mom, bring your credit card to the front desk. Now. My stomach dropped so hard it felt like falling. I stared at the message, then at my purse. I knew, in my bones, that whatever was happening was not an emergency. It was a move. I walked to the front desk with my heartbeat in my throat. My mom was standing there, arms crossed, talking to the receptionist with a bright, strained smile. When she saw me, she turned, eyes sharp. There you are, she said. I upgraded us. I blinked. You did what? She stepped closer and lowered her voice. You're too selfish to be a good daughter, she hissed, quick and venomous. So I did it for you. Then, before I could react, she reached into my open purse, plucked out my credit card like it belonged to her, and slipped it into her robe pocket. And smiled. Relax, she said. You'll thank me later. My credit card. Her hand. Her pocket. It felt surreal, like a magic trick done too close to your face, where you know something impossible just happened but your mind hasn't caught up yet. Give it back, I said quietly. She tilted her head. Don't start. I'm serious, I said. Give me my card. The receptionist glanced between us, uncomfortable. My mom noticed immediately. Oh, don't look like that, she said brightly, turning to her. We're just having a little mother-daughter moment. The receptionist smiled politely and looked away. Of course she did. People always looked away. My mom leaned in closer to me, her voice dropping to a whisper that carried more threat than volume ever could. You are not going to embarrass me, she said. Not today. Not here. I'm already embarrassed, I replied. You just stole from me. She scoffed. Stole? Don't be dramatic. I gave birth to you. Everything you have exists because of me. There it was. The thesis statement of my entire childhood. She turned back to the receptionist. We'll add the hot stone upgrade, the collagen facial, and the product bundle she recommended. The receptionist hesitated. That will be an additional. I know, my mom said, waving a hand. Put it on the card. My card. I felt heat rush to my face. My hands were shaking now, and I hated that she could probably feel the victory in it. This is theft, I said, louder than I meant to. My mom's eyes flicked to the receptionist again. She smiled, soft and wounded. See what I deal with, she said. She gets like this. Always so controlling with money. The receptionist froze, clearly unsure what to do. My mom squeezed my arm, hard enough to hurt, nails digging in just slightly. You're ruining this day, she whispered. If you loved me, you'd stop. That sentence landed exactly where it always did. In the place that had been trained to respond with surrender. I took a breath. Then another. Something shifted. Not courage. Clarity. Because she hadn't asked. She hadn't negotiated. She had taken. I stepped back. I'm going to sit down, I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. I need a minute. She watched me carefully, eyes narrowed, like she was calculating whether I was about to make a scene. Fine, she said. But don't disappear. We're not done. I walked to the relaxation lounge, my heart pounding so loudly I could hear it in my ears. The room was dim, filled with people wrapped in blankets, sipping cucumber water and pretending their lives were calm. I sat down in a corner chair and stared at the wall. I could feel the old instinct clawing at me. Just let it go. Pay this once. It's easier. I imagined the alternative. Calling the bank. Causing a problem. Watching her explode in public. The fear was real. So was something else. Anger. A deep, cold anger that wasn't loud or messy. It didn't want to scream. It wanted to end something. I pulled my phone out. My hands were shaking so badly I had to set it on my knee to steady them. I called the number on the back of the card. The hold music started, absurdly cheerful. Thank you for calling, the automated voice said. Please stay on the line. I almost hung up. That's how strong the conditioning was. I told myself one thing, over and over, while I waited. She chose this. When a real person picked up, my voice came out calmer than I felt. I need to report my credit card stolen, I said. There was a pause. I'm sorry to hear that, the agent replied. Can you tell me when you last had possession of the card? About 20 minutes ago, I said. It was taken from my purse without my consent. Understood, she said. We'll freeze the card immediately. A strange sensation washed over me as she spoke. Relief. Terror. Power. Any recent charges you don't recognize? The agent asked. Yes, I said. There are pending charges happening right now. All right, she said. We'll block those. I closed my eyes. Blocked. Your new card will be mailed within 3 to 5 business days, she continued. Would you like to add a fraud note to the account? Yes, I said. Please. When I hung up, my heart was racing, but my hands had stopped shaking. I sat there for another minute, breathing, grounding myself in the sound of soft music and murmured voices. Then I stood up and walked back toward the front desk. My mom was laughing with an esthetician, gesturing animatedly like she was the queen of the place. She saw me approach and smiled, smug and satisfied. "Feeling better?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "Much." She turned back to the desk. "We're ready to check out this part." The receptionist typed something into the computer. Her smile faltered. She frowned, then tried again. "I'm sorry," she said slowly. "This card isn't going through." My mom's head snapped up. "What do you mean it isn't going through?" "It's been declined," the receptionist replied. "It appears to be frozen." The air changed instantly. My mom turned toward me, eyes blazing. "What did you do?" she hissed. I met her gaze. "I reported my card stolen," I said evenly. The room went silent. Every conversation around us seemed to pause, like the building itself was holding its breath. "You did what?" she said, her voice rising. "You took my card without permission," I replied. "That's theft." Her face flushed deep red. "You selfish little," she started. "Ma'am," the receptionist said quickly, stepping in, "we'll need you to lower your voice." My mom spun on her. "This is none of your business." "It actually is," the receptionist said, firmer now. "We can't process payment on a blocked card. If you'd like to continue services, we'll need another form of payment." My mom laughed sharply, incredulous. "This is ridiculous." "She's my daughter." The receptionist didn't blink. "That doesn't change our policy." My mom turned back to me, her expression twisting into something ugly and desperate. "You did this to humiliate me," she said. "You planned this." "No," I said quietly. "You humiliated yourself when you took my card." Her mouth opened, then closed. Around us, people were staring openly now. This was no longer private. And she hated that. She stepped closer, her voice shaking with fury. "You think this means you win?" she spat. "You think this makes you a good daughter?" I looked at her, really looked at her, in a way I never had before. "I'm done trying to be your version of one," I said. Her scream echoed through the lobby. Security appeared within seconds. Security didn't rush in like a movie scene. They appeared calmly, efficiently, like people who'd dealt with entitled meltdowns before and knew exactly how they ended. "Ma'am," one of them said, positioning himself between my mother and the front desk. "We need you to lower your voice." My mom laughed, loud and sharp. "Are you kidding me? She's stealing from me." I didn't correct her. I didn't need to. The receptionist looked at the screen again, then at the security guard. "The card was reported stolen. We can't proceed." The word stolen hung in the air like a verdict. My mom turned to me slowly, eyes wild, mascara starting to smudge at the corners. "You did this to punish me," she said, shaking. "You waited until everyone was watching." I felt strangely steady. "No," I replied. "I did this because you took something that wasn't yours." Her voice jumped an octave. "I gave birth to you. You owe me." There it was. The final card. The oldest one. A few people nearby shifted uncomfortably. Someone actually gasped. The security guard cleared his throat. "Ma'am, we need you to either provide another form of payment or leave the premises." She spun toward him. "This is family business." He didn't budge. "This is private property." That's when she lost it. She started crying loudly, hands shaking, voice cracking into something theatrical and desperate. "I can't believe this," she sobbed. "After everything I've done for her. I raised her alone. I sacrificed my life. And this is how she repays me." She turned to the room, addressing strangers like a jury. "Is this what daughters are like now?" she cried. "Cold. ungrateful, selfish. Every instinct in my body screamed to make it stop. To apologize. To pay. To fix it. Instead, I said nothing. I watched. Because for the first time, I wasn't inside the storm. I was standing outside it, watching it burn itself out. The spa manager arrived, her expression firm but polite. "Ma'am," she said to my mother, "you're disrupting our guests. If you don't leave voluntarily, we'll have to ask security to escort you out." My mom snapped her head toward me. "You're going to let them throw me out?" I met her eyes. Yes. That single word felt like a door slamming shut. Her mouth opened in shock. She looked around, searching for an ally. For someone to validate her outrage. No one did. People looked away. Some stared openly. One woman actually shook her head. My mom's face crumpled into fury. "You think you're free now?" she shouted. "You think this is over?" I took a step back, putting physical space between us. "It is for me," I said. She lunged toward my bag on the counter, reaching like she might grab something else. Security stepped in immediately. "That's enough," the guard said, taking her by the arm. "You need to leave." She screamed. Not words. Just sound. Raw and furious. As they escorted her toward the door, she twisted to look at me one last time. "You're dead to me," she hissed. "Don't come crying when you need me." I felt a wave of sadness pass through me. Not fear. Relief. "I stopped needing you a long time ago," I said quietly. The doors closed behind her. The silence that followed was heavy, awkward, and surreal. The spa manager turned to me gently. "Are you okay?" I nodded. "Yes. I am." And for the first time, that wasn't a lie. I gathered my things. My hands weren't shaking anymore. As I walked out into the parking lot, the sun felt too bright, too normal for what had just happened. I sat in my car and breathed. Deep. Slow. Real. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Mom, you embarrassed me. You'll regret this." I blocked it without replying. That was the moment I understood something important. Reporting the card wasn't the dramatic part. Choosing not to engage afterward was. No contact didn't feel triumphant. It felt quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you listen to your own thoughts for the first time and realize how loud someone else has been in your head your entire life. I drove home that day with the windows down, even though it was cold, just to feel something other than adrenaline. My phone stayed face down on the passenger seat. I didn't want to see it light up. I didn't want to feel the pull. When I got home, I locked the door. Twice. That night, I didn't sleep much. Not because I was scared, but because my body kept expecting impact. Years of bracing don't disappear in a single afternoon. The messages started anyway. From numbers I didn't recognize. From relatives I hadn't spoken to in months. From people who didn't ask what happened, only why I'd gone too far. "She's your mother." She was just emotional. "You could have handled it privately." I didn't answer. Because what they really meant was, you broke the rules by saying no out loud. I took practical steps the next morning. I changed every password. I froze my credit. I removed her as my emergency contact at work and with my doctor. I asked HR to flag her name and not put calls through. Each action felt small. Administrative. Almost boring. And yet each one was a brick in a wall that had never existed before. My mother tried one last time through my aunt. "She's devastated," my aunt said, voice heavy with judgment. "She doesn't understand why you do this." I kept my reply simple. "She took my credit card without permission." There was a pause. "Well, she didn't mean it like that." That was the sentence that ended the conversation for me. Because intent doesn't erase impact. And love doesn't excuse theft. Weeks passed. The spa incident became a story my mother told with herself as the victim and me as the villain. I heard about it secondhand. How I'd lost my mind. How I'd called the cops on her. How I'd always been difficult. I didn't correct the narrative. People who wanted the truth already knew where to find me. The rest weren't worth convincing. The grief came in waves. Sometimes it hit when I passed a store she loved. Sometimes when I saw a mother and daughter laughing together in public. Sometimes when I reached for my phone out of habit, wanting to tell her something ordinary. I let myself feel it. Because cutting contact isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about caring enough to stop letting someone hurt you. Therapy helped. Not in a dramatic way. In a steady, grounding way that taught me how to recognize guilt as a learned response, not a moral failing. I learned to say no without explaining. To sit with discomfort without rushing to soothe someone else. To trust that being calm didn't make me cruel. Months later, I found the spa robe still folded in the back of my closet. I almost threw it out. Instead, I kept it. Not as a souvenir of her meltdown, but as a reminder of the day I chose myself in public, without apology. If someone tells you that being a good daughter means unlimited access to your body, your time, or your money, hear this clearly. That's not love. That's control with a softer name. Reporting my card stolen wasn't about revenge. It was about truth. She took something that wasn't hers. And for the first time, I didn't give it back. Going no contact wasn't the end of my family. It was the end of my silence. And in that silence, I finally learned what peace feels like. I didn't ruin her spa day. I ruined her access to me. And that was the moment my life finally became my own.